911, what's your emergency?
This is something that shouldn't have happened.
Who could have set this up? This is supposed to be a safe neighborhood. I tried to warn them. Warn them about what, Nolan? A massacre has occurred in a small city in Scotland with a population of just under 500,000 people. No one could have ever expected this to happen. A family of 3, along with their housekeepers, were found dead at around 10 p.m. Police are at the scene.
It's late. I'm at home with my family, and I get a call. There's been an incident in the town of Balerno, Edinburgh.
Mr. Dufferin, owner of the prestigious Scots Casino, once had it all. Wealth, a beautiful family, and a growing business. However, it seems behind the facade, there were deadly dealings afoot.
We are at the scene. There are 5 victims, 4 presumed to be dead and 1 in critical condition. We can suppose that it was her who made the 911 phone call.
We have this young family, they seem to be happy, fairly normal, except for the fact that the father owns a multi-million-dollar chain of casinos known as Scots Casinos. The wife, Lindsay Dufferin, the wife of Walter Dufferin, and the mother of the children, Roger and Rose Dufferin, suffered the most out of the attack. They were all brutally murdered, but where was Walter Dufferin?
When we investigate a case, we have to take into account who the victims are, which we refer to as victimology. So in this case, it would be family annihilation, where the entire family was murdered. We also have to consider the possible motives involved. Right off the bat, we didn't have any eyewitnesses except for the maid who was unconscious at the time. She was our best chance at figuring out who was behind all of this.
We had one suspect, and that was Mr. Dufferin. He was at the crime scene. His car wasn't there. Look, he had fled. So in cases of family annihilation, statistically speaking, the perpetrator is most likely to be the father.
The maid, Marie Jones, was put into an induced coma. We were worried she wouldn't survive her injuries and we would hit a dead end.
We had no one to bring into the station at this time. Our only witness was a neighbor, and she wasn't even an eyewitness. But in this situation, what else could we have done? Hey.
Hello.
I'm sorry for keeping you up late.
It's alright.
Just gonna ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
I know it's hard talking about these things, especially since it just happened. But we need to know. We need to find out as possible this, and we need information as fast as we can. So, what can you remember from this night?
See, I was taking my evening stroll like I usually do, and then I passed by the Dufferin house. Now, usually those poor cutie little patooties, they waved to me from the window. But this night, there was nothing, not a single wave. So I suspected they were out. And then I saw in the driveway, there was a car. So then I just minded my own business. I walked past, and then all of a sudden, I hear these toe-curling screams. Oh, screams like they were being tortured.
Screams from like the house?
Yes! At first it was just a woman screaming, and then it sounded like it was more than one scream, and the screams became louder and louder, and then all of a sudden, nothing.
It's okay, man. It's okay.
When we interview someone who might have been close to the family, it's important that we be delicate. At the moment, we didn't have any promising suspects, except for Mr. Dufferin, who we had tried to contact.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start this again. So what was your relationship with the Dufferin household?
I loved them. They were very involved in the community, except for the father, but Lynn loved him.
Who's that exactly?
The wife, she was the mother of the household.
Okay, please continue.
See, Lynn and Walter, the husband, they were a very, very happy couple ever since the start. But I saw her a couple of days before what happened, and she seemed very, very stressed and upset.
Why did you show like that?
Well, every couple gets into fights, but I've never seen her so upset. She did mention that he went out of town on a business trip, but this time it bothered her more than the other times. She said he'd gone on a whim and that he had ruined all her plans.
Okay, so there's a reason why this time Mrs. Dufferin was more upset.
Yes, it was the husband.
After this interview, we had some input into the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Dufferin. We now had a reason to believe Walter was behind all of this, perhaps in anger at a nagging wife. This gave us the flame to start the fire. Now all we needed was to find a smoking gun.
It's been about 10 hours since the murder at the Dufferin household.
So many questions left unanswered.
The manner of death has been ruled as a homicide. Where even is the husband?
Why the Dufferin household? Why so violent? Questions detectives say they don't have an answer for yet.
Knowing what we knew, we had to look back at the crime scene. Every detail counts, especially with the little information we had about the murders.
911, what's your emergency?
Help! They're dead. He killed everyone. He came and he killed everyone.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you please slow down? Who killed everyone? Hello? Hello, ma'am?
When we arrived to the house, all the lights were off and there was no sound. As we walked around, it became clear that there was no sign of forced entry. There were no broken windows and no aggressive threats. There was even a locked gate. Everything seemed to be normal. We first found 42-year-old Lindsay Dufferin with a deadly stab wound to the chest and her left hand's ring finger cut off. A few feet away, her 8-year-old son, Roger Dufferin, laid with a similar deadly stab wound to the chest. In another room, we found the bodies of a young girl, Rose Dufferin, and her nanny.
Now, it's a matter of finding out everything about this family and whether or not they had any enemies.
Mr. Dufferin was a major casino owner, and a lot of things can go wrong in a casino.
Many times, when the wife in the family dies, it's due to the husband wanting to punish them. Since Lynn's ring finger was missing, we can suspect that she might have been cheating on her husband and he would have been enraged when he found out.
We had all the more reason to suspect the husband, as nothing was stolen from the house, there were no signs of break-in, and the wife's ring finger was missing.
We went to the local casino in Balerno and we searched it. We found this room. Apart from everywhere else, there were no cameras, no game tables, just a dark and empty room. It was clear that this room was used for something other than just business dealings. This is an indication of what is commonly known as illegal gambling. We had a warrant written up. We looked at the security footage over the last month. Very frequently, this group of men, about 3 to 6 of them, would walk in and they wouldn't leave for hours. These walk-ins stopped about a week before the murder.
There was no way this was not related to one another. We had our smoking gun.
Could Dufferin have been an illegal gambler? Did he allow this? Or was he just the victim in this situation?
We now had a more complicated case than just an angry husband. We have suspects nowhere to be found and one witness who's unresponsive. It was time we found our suspects.
On the third day of our investigation, we got a call at the station. It was from Walter's partners at another casino.
Right. Around a week before the murder, I'd say June 8th, I think, according to my phone, Walter calls me and he says he sounds stressed. I mean, downright flustered, if I'd say so myself. And then I ask him, I say, Walter, what's wrong, buddy? He says, they're coming. He's coming to get me. He's coming. And I say, Walter, what do you mean he's coming? Who's he? And he keeps saying someone by the name, what's her name? Oh, the Tyrant. And I say, who's the Tyrant? Who's the Tyrant? He doesn't answer. He just goes, the Tyrant is coming to get me.
The Tyrant, as in cruel and oppressive leader? Because really, that was our first real name, and where could we have gone from there?
So, 1 week before the murder, the secret meetings stop and Mr. Dufferin makes a sketchy phone call to then disappear. It was now our mission to get Mr. Dufferin.
It's bright and early in the morning, about 96 hours since the murder. And we managed to track down Mr. Dufferin's credit card. And we found him located at a Marriott Hill, an hour away from Balerno. So we brought him into the station, which was about time, because we needed some answers to what was going on.
Thank you for coming in. We just need to ask you a few questions. We're deeply sorry for your loss, but can you just tell us, why didn't you contact us any sooner?
I was out of town on a business trip.
We know that, but you had no idea about the murders?
No, I didn't.
Okay then, let's start with some basic questions. Can you walk us through your timeline on the night of the murders?
I left the house around 6 p.m. I drove to a nearby town and I stayed at a hotel for the night.
Dufferin's alibi was flimsy at best. We needed to dig deeper into his finances and his casino operations. There's something he wasn't telling us.
When we investigated the casino, we uncovered a hidden room, and it was just like pure black. It was empty, almost too empty to have been a storage room of some sort, and so we suspected that it had to be bigger than Mr. Dufferin's business, and that the family's death had to be connected to this.
We looked into your business transactions. Large sums of money have been moved to the Tyrant. Care to explain?
I don't know what you're talking about. All my business dealings are legitimate.
Well, David Zuko mentioned a Tyrant.
Nasty piece of... Fine. A couple weeks ago, I found this guy in my casino, and he was doing some dirty business. He was using my assets to fund them.
Dirty how?
Illegal gambling.
Illegal gambling. This brings us back to that black room.
What did you know about the illegal gambling?
The Tyrant, a frequent guy, he would come along with 3 to 5 men almost every Wednesday. They would book a private room and they would double the price if it was taken. I found out they were doing some illegal stuff in there, illegal gambling. They made sure they won almost every single poker game. Once I caught them with a bag of 500,000 cash walking out, I tried confronting them, but they threatened to kill me and end my business. They asked me to go away and stay out of town for a bit before it was too late, so that's what I did. They booked everything for me using my bank account.
So, why didn't you contact us or your family? Your neighbor mentioned hearing you argue with your wife before you left. What was that about?
We had a disagreement. Couples argue. It wasn't anything serious. My wife was just upset about the trip. Lynn didn't understand, that's all.
Mr. Dufferin, right now, everything points to you. You had the motive, the means, and the opportunity. We need you to be completely honest with us. Did you kill your family?
I am honest. I would have never hurt them. I would have never touched them. I love them. You have to believe me.
On day 5, we found out that the maid, Marie Jones, unfortunately passed away, and we never got a chance to interview her. She was our last potential eyewitness. Jones' deaths meant we lost a key piece of the puzzle. Her insight could have provided crucial detail about the night of the murders and the identity of the perpetrator.
We analyzed the front door camera footage of the house. It showed someone leaving a note at the doorstep of the Dufferins. It was about 1 hour before the murder. This note stated, "Watch out and protect yourselves. The tyrant is coming." This was a vital piece of evidence. While looking at the footage, we were able to estimate the height, the weight, as well as certain physical features of the guy who left the note at the door. We cross-referenced this information with criminal records of people seen in Mr. Dufferin's casinos. The features matched those of a guy named Christopher Nolan. He immediately became a new suspect of interrogation.
Yes, so basically, my team and I, we were able to lift fingerprint and DNA samples from the crime scene directly as the blood was still fresh when we arrived. Now, the situation here is that most of the DNA we got back were from known criminals, and one of the most important ones that we received, and the clearest one that we were able to identify, was directly connected to the DNA of a man who had some minor infractions on his criminal records. He went by the name of Christopher Nolan, I believe, yes.
Alright, my name is Detective Sandro Luis. you are Mr.
Christopher Nolan.
Okay, let's get this thing started. How'd you get involved with the tyrant?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the police is on your face otherwise. Who did this to you?
Got into a fight, that's all.
The tyrant's man? You didn't do the right job?
I didn't do anything, I wasn't there.
We have evidence that says otherwise. A deposit into an offshore bank account, as well as the note you left in the Dufferin house.
I tried to warn them,
Warn them about what, Nolan? Did you kill them?
I couldn't do it! When I found out the target was a family, I just couldn't! But it was too late. The tyrant found out I backed out, and then he sent his men after me.
Where can we find this tyrant?
I don't know, he moves around a lot, but he's always watching. If he knows I'm here, I'm dead.
Okay, well, Nolan, we can protect you. We just need something to go off of.
Check the offshore accounts, the money transfers, the lead you to the tyrant! I only got half because I backed out!
If Nolan's telling the truth, we might have a way to take down the tyrant once and for all.
Yes, well, I met with Christopher Nolan after the interrogation, and he was completely in cahoots. You see, his behavior grew increasingly erratic after being interrogated. He was visibly pacing in his cell, and he exhibited classic signs of extreme stress and paranoia. He was always looking over his shoulder as if someone was coming to get him. I feel like he had some stress about, I think he said the tyrant coming to get him. I'm not fully sure.
In a shocking turn, Christopher Nolan, a suspect in the Dufferin murder, was found dead in his cell. Authorities suspect suicide, driven by fear or retribution from the tyrant.
Nolan's death was a devastating setback, especially for the case. He was a very important witness. He was going to help us get to the tyrant, and just for him to speak out and for his death alone speaks in volume of the tyrant's influence and how he was able to reach quite simply anyone.
Armed with Nolan's information about the tyrant and the second offshore account, we tracked down a man named James Cameron. Thanks to the DNA found in the dark room, they were able to connect him to the tyrant's ring. Arresting him was a significant victory, but the true orchestrator, the tyrant, was still at large.
James Cameron, you're under arrest.
James Cameron, do you know why you're here?
I might have an idea, but why don't you enlighten me?
We know you have financial connections to the tyrant. Too large to cost us $25,000. Care to explain?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're not gonna play dumb with us, Cameron. We have the records. We know the tyrant paid you to murder the family.
And with the records, you still got no proof on me.
We have enough to hold you, but if you cooperate and tell the truth about the murder, things might go easier for you. We can cut a deal. The tyrant will throw you under the bus the moment he thinks you're a liability. We can protect you in prison, which you will be going to do.
You want to protect me? Just like you protected the Duffrins, right?
Tell us what you know, Cameron. What happened?
Well, if I tell you, I want a reduced sentence. And I want to be at a good prison. I know I'm going for a life, so it better be worth it.
Well, tell us what you know, and we'll see what we can do.
I was hired by the tyrant. I didn't want to kill anyone. I just wanted the damn money. It's not like it's the worst thing I've ever done. Cut me some slack. At least Walter's alive.
Why was Walter spared then?
For some dumb reason. He wanted Walter to suffer and feel the pain that he knew he could never feel because he doesn't got a family and kids. I would have killed him in a second if he offered more money.
Cameron's capture gave us the leverage we needed. We pressured him for information, and this led us to the tyrant's hideout. It took a coordinated effort across multiple agencies. This involved surveillance and tactical units. The tyrant was always one step ahead, but Cameron's intel really narrowed our search.
The authorities have finally located and captured the elusive tyrant. His capture marked the culmination of a grueling investigation.
We had finally cornered the tyrant, but not a word was spoken. But with the evidence we had, at this point, we had, enough to convict him.
We brought you in today to ask you some questions regarding your involvement in the illegal gambling activities linked to the Dufferin family murder case. Do you have anything to say about this?
After we finished investigating our case, we got our story straight and we landed all the facts. A week before the murder, Mr. Dufferin found out about the tyrant and his business. He freaked out. He called his partner, David Zuko. Mr. Tyrant found out about this, so he threatened Dufferin. So then a couple days later, he sends two of his men, James Cameron and Christopher Nolan, to act as window cleaners to the Dufferin household. They went in, they hacked into the gate system and threatened Dufferin, and they forced him to leave. And that night, James Cameron and Christopher Nolan went into the house unnoticed, and one of them brutally murdered the son, Roger, and the wife, Lindsay, who were in the same room. They both died within minutes of that. The nanny was with the daughter, Rose, of course, the same as the two others. They were stabbed. And then the maid, she managed to escape, but she was under so much shock and stress and hyperventilation that she had passed out after she made the 911 call. And then the chef was also brutally murdered. As lead investigator on this case, it was pretty clear to me that justice was served. Despite our tireless and relentless pursuit of truth, we were able to uncover this dark underbelly of illegal gambling and criminal business, going on in our city. So while the tyrant may not speak of his actions, his silence reflects his consciousness and the guilt that he feels, suffering 4 life sentences in prison.
I am relieved and haunted by the resolution of this case. Our pursuit of the truth has uncovered a tangled web of corruption and criminality that has infested our community. While we did succeed in bringing some measure of closure to the case, the tyrant still refused to speak, and this leaves some unsettling questions unanswered. Nonetheless, our determination remains unwavering. We will continue to stand against those who seek to prey on our society and ensure that justice prevails and our community remains safe. The road ahead may be uncertain, but our resolve remains steadfast.